Hello and welcome. I'm Laura Greco. I'm the founder of Art of Soulful Parenting, as well as a host on Superpower Mamas, which is on the Superpower Up network. And I am very excited to be talking today about exploring the definition of love. Something that I had an opportunity to do many years ago, and I was exposed to the word, and it really helped me to understand a little more deeply what the word love is. But I thought it'd be fun if we looked at that a little bit, especially during these times that we're living in 2020. You know, we've been through the corona. We were also being exposed to some other, well, I don't think it's being exposed to, I think it's opening up our and creating an opportunity to question our relationship with one another as an entire earth family. So as we talked about, love has in the Greek language 4 words. And I will add that since that time, I have come to find out that there are actually 7 words in another article, and also 8 words in yet another article. So I'm going to include those links in the show notes and the description below so that you have an opportunity to go look at them if you'd like to. But I'll start off with the things that I started out learning about. And the first one I'm just going to mention these. I'm not going into details too much. But, and why do we want to look at this? Well, it affects every relationship we have. And that includes the relationship we have with our children, our families, and the universe, as I said. And what I would like to do is hone in on how we can have a more introspective view of what this word really means, since it's one word for so much. So I'll start with eros. That's a more passionate sexual love that is maintained in or contained in any relationship that with a significant other, someone who is a long-term relationship idea, right? And then we have a storge, which is the love that we share between family members, our children, those kinds of things, right? Philia is fun. Philia is a brotherly love, not necessarily family, but a brotherly love among friends, perhaps co-workers, especially in relationships where there's a common cause being produced between them, right? There's some kind of motivation that bonds them, or some excellence of values and principles that creates that bond that's very deep, right? And these loves can be in other, you know, it's not just one or the other. Often these are blended in many of our relationships. And in my research, the fourth one is agape, but I'll get back to that. Another word, though, that I came across, which I think it's important to note it, and that is its definition is rooted in the ability to have self-love, right? Love for self. And then it goes into two different aspects, right? We can, not having enough self-love can create a situation in our relationships, and having a selfish kind of love can also affect our relationships. So that's something to examine, especially when we think about certain things that we're probably thinking more about these days, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. How do we love our neighbor if we aren't loving ourselves, right? Can't pour from an empty bucket. Or do we only accept the love we believe we deserve? So it could come from challenges in our background. Perhaps it's coming from trauma, abuse, the way we were raised, shame, guilt. Perhaps it's generational, right? It goes back further. All of us have aspects of trauma in various ways that are very deep. Some are very, very deep and painful, and not always even understood by the person who carries it. So those are important things to consider when we're considering um, that complexity of relationships, right? But getting back to agape, that's the one I wanted to focus in on for today. And agape is, well, it's described as altruistic, right? It's considered selfless. It adheres to a higher principle, to values that go beyond what is satisfactory to the giver of that love, or the provider of that love. And so it's considered more like the greater good, like what's for the greater good. And yeah, I guess I like the word loving kindness in combination to really describe kind of what that means. But it's being able to see beyond an immediate excellence, because all the other loves have some kind of excellence or familiarity that creates a dependency within the love component. However, agape love can actually become a bond that unifies in spite of, or because of, but mostly even in spite of, any excellence that is shared between two or more. So, how can that help us? Well, it certainly is something to consider when we look at the world events of 2020, right? It also can assist us in having that neighborly brotherly love when we examine, our own beingness, where we all come from. It also can assist us in a sense of forgiveness, because forgiveness is where we have the opportunity to see beyond a possibly even abusive and traumatic experience, to see the experience beyond, or behind another and their actions, right? It gives us an opportunity to see beyond that, and then do a good. It's a higher form, it's a higher vibration. It's considered a godlike love, right? Because you don't even have to know the person to be able to extend such a love. So how does that help us as, for example, as parents, as moms, right? Well, examining our own self-love, of course, is vital, right? We hear about it all the time. And it also gives us an opportunity. This agape love becomes that bond that creates an opportunity for us to, for example, our child does something and we get angry, right? We're not happy with this situation at all. And the first thing that might be is that we're ready to react, right? Ready to say something. And we may go into even a judgment about it. However, could it be possible that we create first space, an opportunity to reserve the right to get angry until you know more about the situation, right? Is there a possibility that there's something behind this act that motivated it, that with understanding could create a learning experience for both ourselves and our children? These are all possibilities, and since we're so complex, you could really go down a rabbit hole, and it's an opportunity to experiment and explore, get curious, and lock into a greater understanding of what this agape love is. Before we end, I want to invite you as a challenge to see where you could expand in your understanding of this one four-letter word of love in our English language, and how that can affect your relationships, right? More understanding creates more exploration, which gives us an opportunity to see from new perspectives. I wrote a little acronym for, I guess that's what you call it anyway, for the word love. So I assigned a word or phrase for each of the letters, love. So L is to lead. O is ourselves and others, to find the value in everyone, E, including ourselves. So that's my invitation. Create more understanding, and you will create the opportunity to create more love that's inclusive instead of exclusive. That allows us to bridge the divisiveness that we see. It's an opportunity to sit beside another, regardless of how we're feeling, and open up to the opportunity to know more. And from that place, perhaps, just perhaps, we have that opportunity to create more peace for ourselves and for others, and to really create a transformation. Because imagine if everyone did that. What would our world look like then? Okay. I love you, of course. Big hugs till another time.